What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He's got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper!
Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that!
On it by Paul Teller. On for a hat-trick.
He's got it! Hat-trick for Nathan Teller! Oh, he's on fire at the minute! 3-0 Burnley! It's Nathan Teller's day!
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. He's had a shot.
Oh, what a goal! Manuel Benson once more! That is top class! Burnley have done it! Fantastic! Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everybody and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast pre-game show with me, Joe Redmond, ahead of a midweek trip to Molineux where Burnley take on Wolves in the Premier League. 7:30 kickoff, I think it is, on Tuesday night, live on Amazon Prime. So if you, like me, struggle to get to midweek away games, at least we can watch this one legally. Everybody can watch it legally. But as you can see, I'm joined by a Wolves fan, and it's Dave from Talking Wolves. How you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on the show again.
No, thanks for coming on, mate. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have Dave on. Dave's one of the OGs. I've had Dave on quite a lot, so it's always good to see you, mate. But before we get started, I just want to remind you all that Turfcast podcast pre-game show is sponsored by Green King Sports. And as we hit December, it is the season for festive football. So what will be the best way to watch it on TV? Down your local Green King Sports pub, of course. After all, Christmas is a time to catch up with friends, old and new. So get the team to your local for some refreshing pies, delicious food, and live action of every Christmas cracker. Every single fixture from TNT, Sky, and Amazon is live at Green King Sport. That means wall-to-wall action on their huge HD screens. So head to your local Green King and watch every winning goal, top bin volleys, and dodgy VAR streams. Atmosphere worth sharing. And please remember to download your Green King Sports app so you receive 10% off drinks every single time that there is sport on the telly. And that does, of course, mean that this game, you can watch this game because it's on the telly and on the telly legally. So they'll be showing it in the Green King Sport pubs. But Dave, talk to me about your season so far then, please, because obviously we saw each other in Manchester for some Sky Bet stuff early in the year. And there was a lot of noise surrounding Wolves then, but you were quite calm about it all. You were like, there's no way we're going down. We'll be fine. And you've kind of been proven right. You've had like a good start to the season. Like you're 13th, but you know, you've had a couple of bad results last couple of games out. But to be fair, one of them was at Arsenal. So you have lost your last two. But like, you've done well, haven't you? I outside looking in, I'm looking at you because of all the noise earlier in the season, which we'll get to. But you've had a good start to the season, haven't you?
It's been okay. I think there have been results. Wolves have picked up results we weren't expecting, i.e., beating Spurs and beating Manchester City. But then there have been some disappointing games. We dropped points to Sheffield United, Luton. There's been a few away games which we've struggled in, really. But thankfully, our home form is pretty good. We're 4 unbeaten at home. And that's really where Gary O'Neill has got to continue getting the points. We've got a big week this week against yourselves and then Nottingham Forest on Saturday. Yeah. So Wolves fans will want to be getting some sort of points from both of those games. But yeah, it's been okay. It could have been a lot worse. Like you said, there was a lot of negativity surrounding Wolves before the season kicked off. Lopetegui walked 4 days before the season started. So it was a difficult task for Gary O'Neill. But considering what had happened a few months ago, I think Wolves are doing all right.
Yeah, like I said, we saw each other in Manchester, and that was just before Lopetegui did walk. But you were you weren't, like I said, you were confident that you'd be fine. But I remember you saying, like, even if he walks, we'll be fine. Like, why were you so confident of Wolves staying up? Is it the 3 promoted teams, or is it just that you knew that you were good enough to stay up?
A little bit of both. I felt like, no disrespect, I thought Burnley would be okay.
I think we all
may still be okay, yeah. But I think I looked at Sheffield United and Luton straight away and thought, and you remember Nick, the Sheffield United fan that was there, he was just so negative and downbeat about the situation. So I thought that's 2 teams gone straight away. And I thought Wolves are better than at least, one of the other sort of 18 teams. And we have the quality. We've got the quality in the team. We've got some really good players. And it's just about them getting it together and it clicking. We've really struggled to score goals previously, but Gary O'Neill's got us scoring goals again. So, I'm confident we'll stay up. I've just got to hope, last week or so where we've dropped a couple of results, I really got to hope that we don't get dragged back into some sort of relegation battle. I just want us, yes, we might be in and around that 13th, 14th place throughout the season, but I just want to make sure we're not ever going to be dragged into that relegation conversation.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And shout out to Nick. He's a top lad, but he had a bit of a nibble this week after the 5-0. He had a bit of a nibble on some of our tweets. But I do like Nick. He's a good lad. But talk to me about Gary O'Neill, though, because obviously, is it a big different style between him and Lopetegui? Because Gary O'Neill kind of gets pigeonholed into like a defensive mindset manager. Is he that sort of manager? Or, tell me how you play, because I've not actually seen Wolves play this season.
Well, it's obviously he came to Wolves, and we've only sort of seen him have that 1 year at Bournemouth where he was playing that sort of 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 style almost. And when he got appointed, a lot of Wolves fans were quite underwhelmed, and I think a lot of Premier League fans would have been. I think even if you guys got rid of Vincent Kompany and you said, "Oh, who do you want as your new manager at the time?" I don't think any of you would have said Gary O'Neill. So I think he did a good job at Bournemouth, and he struggled at Wolves. The first couple of games, we played United on the opening day of the season, and we were like fantastic. We're like, hold on a second, like this could be quite good. But then a lot of people all of a sudden started saying, well, Lopetegui's had this preseason. Lopetegui would have got them ready for this game. And then there have been good performances, but we were dropping too many points. And then we dropped points at Luton. We then lost to Ipswich in the Cup after being 2-0 up. And there was a lot of pressure all of a sudden on him. And he changed the complete system against City, shocked City, and we won. And then at home, we picked up points against Newcastle and Villa. Then beaten Spurs as well. In terms of style, I think he knows, the squad's stronger than us because we've been playing a back five, like counter-attacking, relying on the quality of the wing-backs and the wingers. This week, like I mentioned, will be interesting, though, because in regards to Burnley and Forest, it's the first time this season at home, 2 teams sort of lower down the table are going to come to Molineux. Everybody else that we've played is a top 6 team. Everyone at home is a top 6 team or in European competition. So it'll be very interesting to see how he sets up. But he has relied a lot on the counter-attacks. I would assume against Forest and against yourselves, we might have a little bit more of the ball. So it'll be interesting to see how he sets up from that perspective.
You mentioned that he changed the system there. Just looking at your earlier starts of the season, not to go over what you've just mentioned, but you did lose 4 of your first 5 games, wasn't it? With the only win coming against Everton, who at the time were quite poor. You look at that win now and think that's a good result. But at the time, I just thought, Wolves will beat Everton. Everton are terrible, but I think Everton will kick on as well, even with the points deduction. But we spoke about how you was pretty confident from the offset. Was you still confident at that point?
I still felt in terms of the performances, we showed enough in the performances that we have got the quality to compete and at least, be out of that picture. I think that win against Everton was crucial. But you do look at some of those early results. Yes, we lost sort of 4 of those games, but I think off the top of my head, it was United, Brighton, Liverpool. I don't know the other one off the top of my head as well, but, there was...
Palace.
The Palace one was frustrating. But I think at the moment, probably bar... results are sort of and points are probably where I expected us to be because, of course, we've dropped points to Luton and Palace or whatever, but we've also beaten City and Spurs, which you probably wouldn't have expected us to do at the start of the season. So I think the home games are big for Gary O'Neill. If he can keep getting points and winning games at home, I think he should be absolutely fine. But there is a little bit of a concern amongst the fan base that away from home, and this has sort of been from last season under Lopetegui as well. We just haven't really been putting in the same performances.
So what was it he changed? Because obviously after the Liverpool defeat, which we mentioned, which was your 4th defeat in 5, as you've said, you dropped the points against Luton, which was a draw, and you did have a man sent off. And I think at the time, I can't remember it, but I think that was another VAR scandal that Wolves were involved in.
Yeah, it was the penalty for Luton. It was
that was it.
Decision. That was it. Yeah.
And then obviously you lost to Ipswich in the Cup, as you mentioned, but then you went on to beat City, and you mentioned that Gary O'Neill changed it. What did he change then? What was the system that he changed?
So he changed the formation. So at the start of the season, he was predominantly playing like a 4-2-3-1. And again, it was creating chances, but we were so leaky at the back, and everyone felt, if we start and play like this against City, it could be a cricket score. And he changed it to a 5 at the back, almost Nuno-esque. We went back to sort of what had worked back in the day. And although it wasn't a classic, Wolves weren't unbelievable in terms of going forward. It was almost a perfect performance in showing how to stop Manchester City, beat them on the counter, got 2 good goals. And he's stuck with it ever since, and I think it's just important now that Wolves adapt. Yes, you can keep the same shape, but you've got to make sure you play in a specific way, in a certain way. But it's frustrated a lot of teams so far. I think we've shown that we can still score goals despite having 5 defenders. But I think the big key for Wolves going into this game, the last 3 games, we've conceded in the first 10 minutes. We've got to make sure that doesn't happen because, we've given teams like Arsenal, Spurs and Fulham head starts. Yeah, I know we went on to beat Spurs and the Fulham game could have been a different result. But in the Premier League, you can't afford to be giving teams a 1-goal head start. And obviously with Burnley scoring quite early at Sheffield United, they'll be keen to do that as well at Molineux.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously, from our perspective, we can recreate that or even make it quicker, 15 seconds, which at the time I was like, that's surely got to be one of, if not the fastest ever Premier League goal. It's not even in the top 10. Wow. Astounding stat, yeah. But James Rodriguez is the only player to have 2 goals in the top 15. He scored a goal for Southampton after 13 seconds or something. But yeah, interesting. I'm not sure how we'll do that away at Wolves, especially if we don't have the if we don't have the what's it called, centre. But yeah, I just want to quickly move on as well to your ambitions for the season. Because you said there you just don't want to get dragged into a battle. But I think at the minute, teams like yourselves, I mean, I'm going to sound hypocritical here because I'm looking at Forest and Fulham potentially of thinking they can get dragged into it. But I don't think of Wolves like that. I think of Wolves as a team that should probably be safe, probably because of the manager. And I do think of you as quite a solid team. Whereas Fulham, who are on the same points with just 4 goals worse goal difference, I do feel can get dragged back into it. But I don't feel like you can. But you said earlier then you just want to stay around that area and not get dragged back into it. Is that really the only ambition, or are you kind of looking a little bit more maybe at running the FA Cup?
Oh yeah, no, of course, yeah. I mean, I think everybody, even top 16s, but I think everybody else in the Premier League wants to try and have a run in the FA Cup, especially because sometimes it can have an impact on your league form, whether it be negatively or positively. But I think for Wolves, if we're comfortable and we know we're not going to get dragged back into it, I think a cup run would be great. But I think Wolves are capable of more than just a 12th or 13th place finish. I think genuinely the squad is very, very good, but it's just getting that consistency. And like I said earlier, with the inconsistency home and away, I don't think we're ever going to start pushing for Europe again. But I think we are capable of finishing sort of around that 10th, 11th mark. This time last week before the Fulham game, if we beat Fulham, we would have been top half. So things changed quite quickly, and now we're 4 points behind Chelsea. So we're definitely capable. We've just got to show it. And like I said, against teams such as yourselves and Forest, it's a good test to see where Wolves are. But I think Gary O'Neill really needs to come out of this week, these next 2 fixtures, getting some more points on the board.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just looking at the league table again, if you get obviously the 2 wins, which probably a lot of your fans will expect from 2 home games against Burnley and Forest, that'll put you on 21 points. And yeah, you pretty much should be in the top half then, depending on other results in and around you. But I think 21 points, which will be after 16 games, will be pretty much nigh on safe with some of the teams that are down there with us. I'm going to say not including Burnley, but let's not get carried away. It's 1 win. But you mentioned there a couple of times that you do feel like you have a good squad. Who are the main threats in your squad at the minute that we should be looking out for?
Well, I'm sort of waiting for Gary O'Neill's press conference this afternoon, because Pedro Neto who started off really well, but he's been injured the last few weeks. He's still got the most assists in the Premier League, and he's been injured for like the last 3 or 4 games. So Neto, it would be great to have him back tomorrow if we can. But Hwang Chan started to score a lot of goals. I still want a little bit more from his overall game, Hwang, but he just seems to be the right place at the right time at the moment. When he's in and around the box, he's a deadly finisher. I think our top goal scorer last season was Ruben Neves, and Pedence with 6 in all competitions. Hwang's already got 7 or 8 goals this season, so really kicking on, and that's helping us. Mateus Cunha as well, I really like, and it's good that he started to score some goals as well. He scored in his last 2 games for Wolves. just a player, just works his socks off. A little bit of a debate because he's playing as a lone striker for Wolves. Fans aren't 100% sure if he's that sort of a number 9. But he's working hard, and hopefully he can continue his goal scoring form. But really, those three. I mean, if Neto is back, Hwang, Cunha, and Neto has started off together really, really well, and a danger to any Premier League defence.
Yeah, Neto especially. I think from a Burnley point of view, I'm looking at that and hoping, obviously, that he doesn't make the game. What is the issue with him then? I'm currently looking at premierinjuries.com, which is where I get all my injury update news. It says he's got a thigh injury, and it says here potential return Christmas Eve. Like, I don't know what he's going to be doing on Christmas Eve, football-wise.
We've got a game. We're playing Christmas Eve, so that's why.
You actually? Right, okay.
We got a
that's
Christmas
interesting.
Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
There was a bit. Burnley were playing on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, there was a big, big hoo-ha about that. But I mean, Gary O'Neill said on Friday he was back training on the grass, so I think Burnley game might be a little bit too soon for him. But the issue with Neto was he got injured after the game against Newcastle. Said, "Oh, I'll only be out for 2 weeks," which put him up to the international break, and he's still not back. So. I mean, it'd be great to have him back, but I don't want to rush him back, if you know what I mean. I think it was a hamstring issue. But we still got capable players. We've got a French guy, Bellegarde, who got a great assist for the game in the game against Fulham. Pablo Sarabia as well, who's a capable player. Came off the bench against Spurs and completely changed that game. So we've got some quality players. And it's just up to Gary O'Neill to decide who deserves to start if Neto's not fit.
Yeah, fair enough. From a Wolves point of view, then, looking at Burnley, do you think this is the worst possible time to players coming off the back of that 5-0 victory of Sheffield United? Now, obviously, I have said on several full-time reactions and stuff like how good we were, but I'm also trying to keep my feet on the ground in the fact that it's only Sheffield United, and I mean that with the greatest of respect, but having watched them just a couple of days ago, they were pretty poor. But obviously, regardless of the opponent, it gives us a bit of confidence that we can go into this game now that we necessarily didn't have at any point this season before.
Yeah, it'll be, a tough game. I think Burnley now, the fact that you've scored 5 goals in a single Premier League game as well, they're going to be up for it, and there's going to be a lot more confidence in that Burnley camp than what there was, this time last week. I mean, you look at Sheffield United; their only win of the season was against us as well. Typically,
it was, wasn't it?
that was away from home for us. I mean, that, like I said earlier, that away form has been atrocious, but at home, I am confident. But it will be a difficult time to face Burnley. The fact that you scored, like I said, 5 goals. You're scoring an okay amount of goals. You're just conceding too many. So I think it'll be a very interesting game. I think on tomorrow. I think Wolves fans will be quite going into it confidently, but at the back of our minds, I think you're thinking, for a team to come off the back of a 5-0 win, they're going to be up for this game.
Yeah, well, from a Burnley fan point of view, I am now looking at this game not with confidence, but with more confidence than I would have done. I'm thinking, we can get something there. Like I wouldn't look at it and say if it's 2-0 Wolves, but that's a disgrace because obviously you are a good side and you've shown that this season. But I am now looking at that and thinking we could actually do something, and that's the confidence that gives you. And obviously the players will have the same mindset. But you mentioned there as well, like it's good to see us. We've scored quite a few, and obviously we scored 5 in the Premier League. That's the first time we've ever scored 5 goals in the Premier League, according to a stat. I've got, at Turf Moor, but I can't see us doing it away from home. So the last time we did it in the top flight was against Forest, actually, in 1970. So, yeah, hopefully the players can go into it with a bit of confidence. I'm not sure how much of Burnley you've seen this season. And I don't always like asking this question because it puts people on the spot. And I remember when people ask it me sometimes, I think, oh, shit, my mind's blank. I have to quickly search the players. But is there any Burnley players that have stood out for you this season so far?
If I'm honest, I've not watched it. This year as a whole, I've not watched. It might be because of the whole VAR thing. I've not really watched much Premier League football at all, or try and keep myself out of it. To be fair, but I mean, I'm just looking at your goal scorers from Saturday. I think obviously I know of Jay Rodriguez and know of Josh Brownhill. The other 3 lads, I'm not sure I've heard of before, to be honest. So, but no, I mean, you absolutely smashed Sheffield United. Obviously, kept a lot of the ball, had a good amount of attempts on goal. I always like Sander Berge, was always a good player. I think he was always one. I don't know how he's obviously started off for Burnley so far this season.
Yeah.
But when he was in the Premier League that first time with Sheffield United, there was a lot of Wolves fans that liked him. I think obviously he slowed down a little bit at his time at Sheffield United, but and Josh Brownhill, we were linked with him a couple of times as well. So
yeah, quite a few.
I think
were,
there's capable players there, and like I say, I think it'll be a tricky test for Wolves tomorrow.
Yeah, well, Luca Koleosho's the standout one for me. He did get one of the goals against Sheffield United. He will run it. He's the one that you'll look at and think, oh, Jesus, this guy's good, because he's probably the only one that will try and make things happen. Like Sander Berge has been fantastic, and he ran the show against Sheffield United, and Josh Brownhill's been brilliant as well. Since we've kind of changed the midfield and changed the system, they've been the two better midfielders for us, so that they have been the two in the middle that are running it. So if we can get hold of the ball in midfield and get the ball out to the wingers, in Luca Koleosho and probably Brune Larson, who also got a goal on Saturday, then yeah, I think you'll like the look of Koleosho. He's a very, very good player. But I do like to ask people's opinions on Burnley, not necessarily the prediction for the season. We'll get into that in a second. But obviously, since we last played, it's a very different Burnley. Obviously, got relegated from the Premier League under Sean. Just got rid of Sean Dyche, then got relegated, but still the same style of football. And obviously now we've been down to the Championship, completely changed the ethos, completely changed the style, and now we're trying to do it in the Premier League. So far, it's not worked, but the signs are there that it might be working. Not just the result on Saturday, but we have been better performances the last 3 or 4 games, really. We just haven't got the results until Saturday. But what are your thoughts on Burnley and the way that they've changed things and what they've tried to do?
I think, obviously, for Vincent Kompany, it was a good move. And I think, that Burnley team, obviously you would have wanted them to get promoted straight away last season. But I think even Burnley fans would have been surprised with how well, and how well they did in the Championship, and just pretty much dominated and did really well. I'm always cautious when sort of the press and fans put almost quite a lot of pressure on Burnley, just expecting, they'll be fine. They'll be, they do well in the Championship, they'll do fine. But obviously it's been a slow start for you guys. And I think that is adjusting to life in the Premier League in terms of system and so on. I think, you look at it, even with that Everton points deduction, I think it's still going to be tough. But if Burnley can still keep getting big results against your likes of Sheffield United, I'm not sure if you played Luton yet, if you start beating the teams like Luton as well. Them. Yeah. So they're the big results of Burnley. They've just got to keep going down those results. But it's good. It's good that Kompany wants to, has joined and wants to play football. I've not really seen Burnley properly since he took over. So that's, again, it will be interesting for me to see tomorrow at Molineux the style of play and how he sets up, especially away from home. But I think you've got a chance. Definitely got a chance. You just got to try and get some consistency, really.
Yeah, I think the problem is with the start of the season, the games went out pretty fast. And now, like I just said, we have got better, and we are showing signs of a team that can stay up now if we put a run together. Because we have played better, like I said, but the results haven't been there until the weekend. We now need to capitalise on this, because we play yourselves, then Brighton, who, they're a good side, but, I think they're playing Marseille the week before or the week after. And, people like Sheffield United have got results off them. So if they can, then the thought process is that we can. And then we've got Fulham coming up as well, not long after that. So if we beat Sheffield United 5-0, then we get beat against yourselves, beat against Fulham, beaten against Brighton. It's just a case of we're back to square one then. What's the point of the 5-0 win, really? So we need to make it count now. But what sort of game are you expecting then at Molineux? Not necessarily prediction, we'll get into that in a second, but how are you expecting yourselves to line up in terms of system and players, and how are you expecting to take the game to Burnley?
I think Wolves will start with the sort of 5 at the back again, or sort of probably like a 3-4-3 formation, really. And it'll be sort of, I say good thing, but for us against Arsenal, obviously we lost that game, but we had a couple of players out suspended. We had a couple of players out injured. Mario Lemina and João Gomez, the 2 starting midfielders normally for us, were both suspended for that game at Arsenal. So I would assume they'll come straight back in. So they'll be fresh, they'll be fit. And I think that'll be quite interesting, that midfield battle. Like I mentioned earlier, Sander Berge and Josh Brownhill both play. I think, there's got a lot of quality in that midfield, and that could be where the game is sort of won and lost. But Wolves will rely a lot still on the pace and the power of the sort of front three. And it will be interesting to see how Burnley line up, because if Burnley, I'm not going to say they will, but if Burnley do have a low block at times throughout the game, Wolves may struggle to break that down. But with Vincent Kompany, he'll probably want to try and play a little bit of football himself and give Burnley a chance of winning the game. So really unsure on how it will pan out, because it could go either way. I think Burnley will be high off that win at Sheffield United and could come and really shock Wolves depending on how they start. The key for Wolves is to sit tight for the first 15-20 minutes or so, make sure they don't concede an early goal again, because that could make it a really frustrating evening again at Molineux.
Yeah, well, we were quite worried after 15 seconds, to be honest with you, after the Sheffield United game, because we have lost so many points from winning positions. Like we went 1-0 up against West Ham, obviously lost, went 1-0 up against Bournemouth, lost. There's other examples in there as well. Obviously losing so many. So if we do get an early goal, don't write Wolves off. That's all I'm saying. However, we obviously are a bit of confidence now and thinking that we might be able to get something from this game. But what's your prediction, mate, in terms of results?
I think both teams will score. Wolves, I don't think have kept many clean sheets at all this season, but we are scoring a lot of goals. So I think I will back Wolves just purely because of how good we've been at home. I think it'd be a 2-1 Wolves win, but I certainly would be surprised if Burnley do get something out of the game. It might be a 1-1 draw, but I think Wolves should just have enough to edge it 2-1.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think when I did the full-time show yesterday, obviously still quite excited from the Sheffield United win. I did predict a 1-0 Burnley win, but I think with my feet firmly planted on the ground, I think 1-1, I'll take 1-1. I do agree, I think both teams will score. And a lot of people will say, and I agree, that the defence looked good against Sheffield United, but they didn't really put us under much pressure. And I have since back watched a couple of vlogs from the likes of Jacob Bradley and a couple of Sheffield United lads, and Sheffield United actually had some chances. They just didn't put them away. So if we are conceding these chances to some of the players that you mentioned earlier in the show, then we might concede. And I do think Wolves are capable. But I'll take a draw all day long now. Take a draw here. Take a draw at Brighton, and then just win one of them. Just win one of them. I'll be happy with that because that's obviously more points. And then hopefully win against Fulham because we've got Liverpool sandwiched in between that, have we? No, Liverpool's after. But anyway, I'll take a draw. So my prediction is 1-1. Before we do go though, Dave, do you want to let everybody know where they can find you, where they can digest your content?
Yeah, so it's at Talking Wolves across all socials, really. So yeah, on the YouTube, do preview shows. You'll be jumping on our preview shortly. Match reactions. So if you want to see my thoughts on the game, whether it's a Burnley win or loss or even a draw tomorrow, and then we'll have a fans react as well. So we get quite a few fans jump on and just give their thoughts after the game. But yeah, Talking Wolves on YouTube and all of the socials. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries, mate. I do urge everybody to go and check out that channel. It's probably one of the best ones out there, and one of the ones that I do look at for inspiration. So, Dave, thank you for coming on. I'm sure I'll see you later in the season.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. Yeah.
Nice one, mate. Appreciate it. Good luck for the season, but obviously after tomorrow.
Yeah, no problem, mate. Thanks for having me on.